Welcome back to This Is a Commander channel, where this is a Commander channel, and today I'm going to talk about Commander, Tough Rules, and Cool Interactions, episode 118. Today's episode is going to be the first in a mini-series that focuses on just a singular card, a singularly confusing card that works in a strange way or a confusing way, not so much how it interacts in a confusing way with another specific card or mechanic. Seeing as how it just recently got a Secret Lair reprint and is therefore likely to see a little bit more play in some games with more people learning about the card, I figured it was a perfect card to start with. Reconnaissance is an enchantment with an activated ability that says, remove target attacking creature you control from combat and untap it. The cost for this activation is nothing. It's 0 mana to activate and no tap needed. This is something that used to show up on quite a few older Magic cards, but not really anymore these days with a 0 as the activation cost. Anyhow, this card is confusing because how the game of Magic has changed over the many years that the game has been going on. And now in Magic, when we are in the combat phase, there is actually a step that happens after combat damage has been dealt by creatures. And this means that attacking creatures are still considered attacking after combat damage, and that is what makes this card a little bit confusing for a lot of players. The original intentions of this card was that if your creature was blocked, then you would pull it out of combat and be safe. And you can still use this card for those purposes, but now you can also let your attackers deal damage safely to the blockers that they would not die against, and even your unblocked creatures getting through to players, planeswalkers, and battles, dealing their unblocked damage. And then you can still pull them out of combat and untap them, making this a 1 mana enchantment that basically gives pseudo-vigilance to all of your creatures, so long as you can target them and get around Shroud and protection from enchantments or protection from white. Now, the reminder text on the original Exodus printing of the card is also what leads to a lot of the confusion, as the card does straight up say in that reminder text, that creature neither deals nor receives combat damage this turn. And I've heard some players say while in their games that the player using Reconnaissance is cheating when using this card after damage has been dealt, as they are no longer attacking because combat is done. Combat damage is done. And also it should retroactively remove the damage that the creature did, as the card says that it doesn't deal damage this turn. But that's not how the game works. You can prevent damage as it is about to be dealt, but you can't go back in time and prevent damage after it has already been dealt. Even if you're the card Simulacrum, which is probably a good card for this series in the future. So please do let me know of any cards that you guys think would fit into this mini-series. Those cards that are just individually confusing as to how they work. These can be cards that are confusing due to their old wall of text back when Magic cards didn't have as much consistency with their formatting, or even just new cards like the episode I did dedicated to Saruman of Many Colors. That card, his effect, just confused a lot of players, and I saw people using it as their commander, and I still had to explain to them, what does my commander actually do? This is what it does. So I do have some ideas for future episodes with cards like Wheel of Misfortune and Morog Fury of Akum, which I think I've actually covered on my channel in the past, but I'd like to do like a dedicated video to it, as well as a few other cards that I have in mind for this series. But I would love to actually focus on the cards that you guys, that my subscribers, actually think are confusing, or just cards that you've seen a lot of other players struggle with to figure out. So that way I might be able to provide a way to clearly explain, like, this is what it does, this is the rule, with this episode, like with how there's a combat, there's more to do with combat after combat damage is dealt. So that way I can help to possibly provide a way in which you can more easily explain that you're not cheating, this is how this card works. Anyhow, that's all I've got for today's episode. As always, I hope that all of you have found this video to be entertaining at least, and I hope that a few of you have even learned something about the crazy rules in this great game of Magic. Have a good one. Ta-ta.